welcome back to my channel. So today I decided to finally film a Booktube Newbie Tag. I've seen this kind of floating around and I've seen a number of people kind of do these tags and I think they're a ton of fun. I think it's a great way to get to know people, but I didn't see it and know it was a thing until I was kind of on here for a little while. But I kind of started my channel. I tried starting it once last year, but I made I think like 2 or 3 videos and then stopped last May. I'm gonna go with May because I think it may have been the end of April. It was May or June, somewhere in there. I restarted my YouTube channel and I have been very consistent with posting, and I don't know, I decided I wanted to finally make a little video so you guys could get to know me and kind of get to know why I decided to start this channel. But let's just get right into the video. Like I said, I saw this video a number of places, but I am basing my questions off of, I just like searched Booktube Newbie Tag and I found Faith's reading things. She had one, she posted a while ago, but I have been watching her channel for probably like 6 months now and I absolutely adore her channel. I think she seems so sweet. So when hers was like one of the first ones that popped up, I was like, I'm gonna go with the questions that she had on there. So the first question is why I started Booktube, and I originally started with a Bookstagram account and I have a small following on there, and I don't know, I didn't love that form of content. I love talking about books and reviewing books, and I just know that isn't really what Bookstagram's kind of leaning towards now. It's a lot of reels and really aesthetic pictures, and I don't know, that just wasn't for me. I prefer just talking about books, and I don't know, for me just sitting down and making a video just feels more like myself. And I used to always sit and talk my boyfriend's ear off about whatever books I was reading, and I don't know, just finding Booktube and listening to other people talk about books, it's how I get a lot of my recommendations now. And I don't know, it's a way for me to talk about my feelings, and it feels like I'm talking to people about books, even if at the moment it's just me talking to a camera. It's just a good way for me to kind of get my feelings out and my thoughts out about books. I love watching these videos, so I decided why not to make some of my own. And throughout the couple months that I've been making them, I've gotten like more into editing videos and not just like posting whatever is recorded. I'm not great at editing yet, but I feel like every video that I post, like I'm learning new things and I'm finding new ways to edit them and make them more fun and more personable. Question 2, why I started reading. I have always been an avid reader my entire life. I never really read, I was thinking about this the other day, I never read like a ton of series or anything. I used to always read a ton of like short series, or like I would constantly have a book in my hands. I didn't necessarily always finish them, but I used to check out books from the library all the time. And when I was younger, my dad built me like built-in bookcases in my childhood bedroom. So I don't know, reading has always been a part of my personality. Up until I got to probably middle school, high school, I kind of slowed down when we started having a lot more required readings. I just kind of fell out of love with reading, which was really sad for me because I loved books so much and they were such a big part of my personality, but I just didn't have the time for them anymore. I was so busy in high school between working, and I did competitive dance, and I was a cheerleader, and I was in show choir, so like I was finding different outlets for my time. And I guess that explains my creative side, is I've always been involved with like dance and show choir, so I always loved kind of performing, and being in the like in front of a camera does not faze me at all. Like I could talk to a camera for ages. Once I graduated from college, I started reading again and quickly spiraled into what my boyfriend would call a book obsession, because I started when we moved from Iowa to North Carolina with maybe a dozen, 2 dozen books, and now I have 2 giant bookcases full of them, and there's a lot I haven't read on my bookshelves, but a lot that I have read. I read constantly. All my free time is pretty much spent reading. Like, I don't know, just being able to escape into a book is my favorite thing. I work in healthcare now, and I see a lot of sick people. I work in cardiology, so when people have heart attacks, they come in to me and we do our best to try and save them, but it can just be a really dark and depressing place sometimes, and having books be an outlet to just escape reality and go into my own fantasy world just means so much to me, and just being able to take a break from reality. And I think that's why I initially fell in love with reading when I was a kid, was just I had a ton of anxiety growing up and got nervous around people, but my books were always there to comfort me, and now they're still there to comfort me. And that's why to book series that got me into reading. Like I said, I read a ton of random books when I was a kid. I loved, and I think they're stored in a box somewhere. I have dozens and dozens of, I think they were called the Animal Arc series. It was about a girl whose parents were both her parents were vets, and every story was a different animal that she saved. I read Laura Ingalls books. I thought those ones were really interesting. And once I got to middle school, I got more into dystopian books. I loved Hunger Games growing up, and I always wanted to love Harry Potter. However, I only got to, I think, the 4th book up until a couple years ago. I read the whole series. More recently, when I got kind of back into reading after college, I think the book that got me into reading then was Six of Crows. I read a couple of other random books. I don't even remember what they were. There were a couple from Book of the Month when I first got back into reading. But then I picked up Six of Crows, and it kind of reminded me of the fantasy side, and I don't know, it was just so fast-paced, and the heist, and I don't know, it was just such a good series that I think had a little bit of hype for a while, but I never thought it had as much hype as it should have. When I started reading again, like I said, was right after college. I finally had free time, and I struggled for a little bit because I was always the type of person to keep myself so busy, and in high school I tended to avoid my feelings and thoughts and anything, just because I hated the feeling of not having to do something. So I would keep myself so busy, and I did the same thing in college. I would volunteer, I had a job, I was a full-time student. I just didn't give myself free time, and have too much anxiety for that if my brain was sitting still for too long, I would just get so anxious that I really struggled when I didn't have as much going on. And I'm so glad that I had a few books, and I don't even know where I found them, but I think I just randomly one day kind of wandered around a Barnes & Noble and was I'm gonna pick out a few books to have so that I can finally have some options when I can read again after college. The 5th question is what books I like to read. So I am definitely a fantasy reader. I typically like YA fantasy. I think they're enough high stakes, but it's not so complex adult fantasies. I haven't really read any adult fantasies yet, but I'm a little nervous to dip my toes into those, just because just high fantasy is very intimidating to me. But I love YA fantasy. Right now I think my favorite series of all time is probably Throne of Glass. The second I started reading that series, I knew it was going to be way up there on my rankings. And by the time I finished it, like, I think it's tied right up there with Harry Potter. Like, they go back and forth on which one would be my favorite series. But I do read a fair amount of, like, mystery books. I love, like, kind of cozy mysteries. I haven't really read any horror books yet, but I have been reading some Frida McFadden books. I love those. I really enjoy Alice Feeney's writing. And then I have started to dip my toes into some romance. And I don't typically like a lot of spice in my romance, but there have been a few romance books that I have really enjoyed. One of my favorite books so far this year was actually Happy Place by Emily Henry. I've loved almost everything I've read by her. I really enjoy Sarah Adams. I think her books are just very lighthearted and like fun and easy to read. And then I'm on the third book in the Chestnut Springs series. That one's a little bit on the spicy side, but there's enough plot going on there, and I love her character. I read ACOTAR, but to me Throne of Glass was better because it was a little bit more on the political side of fantasy. This question is, who are some of my favorite booktubers? And I think this is a fun question because I think a lot of people's favorite booktubers can really shape what books and genres they enjoy, because you tend to reach towards people who read similar things to you. But because my favorite genre, like, I don't have a specific favorite genre, my favorite booktubers kind of match that. I watch some that like different genres, which is fun. So like I said, I love Faith's reading things. I think she seems so sweet. I know she reads a fair number of like mysteries and thrillers and like a little bit of romance and a little bit of like cozy fantasy. I also watch Just Allie. I think she has a lot of really good book recs, and I think she reads a good variety. She reads quite a bit of like romance, but she also reads quite a bit of fantasy. There's a few fantasy books that I want to read because of her videos on them. I know she recently, I guess it was probably a while ago now, but she read The Prison Healer, and like I haven't stopped thinking about that book since she posted a video about it. Also love Des and Sarah. I think they are so fun. Their videos are always just like a breath of fresh air, and they just always bring like a fun spirit to BookTube. It's not that serious on their channels, and I feel like their genres tend to be pretty similar to mine. They both read like some fantasy, some mystery, some romance. So I think that's a really good mixture. I strive to be able to read as fast as Des does. Like, it is insane to me how quickly she reads books. But I love their videos. I love Rachel Catherine. I think she is just seems so sweet, and I don't know, I love her opinions on a lot of romance books. I think she just always, the way she articulates books and how she reviews them just always makes me so intrigued in what she reads. Like, some of my favorite booktubers, I watch so many different channels that I don't know, if it pops up I usually read it, but those are the ones that I think I tend to gravitate towards the most. The last question is, what can you expect to see on my channel? And I don't know for sure. It kind of just depends on the week, but I do work full-time and my job takes up a fair amount of time, so I usually can't read a ton of books at once. But I love doing like monthly wrap-ups and TBRs. They might not be like super extravagant. I usually read maybe 4 books in a month, but I still think they're so fun. I love filming like little mini book shopping videos, even though I need to stay away from bookstores because I need to not buy books. I also like to do like a few little reading challenges while I'm at my parents' house for like a little vacation trip visiting them. I'm filming like a kind of 24-hour reading challenge. I've done like swapping my phone time for reading. I think those videos are a really fun way to motivate reading. I think it's just kind of a variety, and I don't have any specific thing. I'm gonna do some reviews, I want to try to make sure everything stays spoiler free because I wouldn't want to be the one to like ruin someone's book reading experience on accident. So I feel like I would love to do full reviews, and if you guys want to see that, like I can like leave like a spoiler warning, but I don't know, I feel like sometimes it's hard to do a full review without spoiling something in the book. I love the Booktube community. I think it is just a wonderful place to be a part of, and I'm so glad that I decided to join, and I am excited to make more videos. I'm excited to read more books, and I really hope that you guys enjoy my channel. And I post videos every Friday, and I try to be pretty consistent with that. Now that my school is starting back up for the fall semester, I might not be able to be quite as consistent. I might miss a week here or there, but I just love being a part of this community, and I am just here to share my love of books. I would love to make more bookish friends and just be able to ramble about books constantly. I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. Like I said, if you enjoyed it, please subscribe to my channel. I post videos every week, and I will see you guys next week. Bye.